Okay, this is the continuation of my lecture on the salient features of the Constitution of 1956. So another feature of the same constitution was that it provided for a unicameral central legislature. Though it was quite a surprising thing for many of the people who knew how the federations work, but Pakistan, though it was a federation, it was a balanced federation, having only two provinces which were roughly equal in terms of population. So there was no need for a bicameral legislature. That is why the Constitution of 1956 proposed a unicameral legislature for Pakistan, and it was to be named as the National Assembly. National Assembly was to have 300 general seats, which were to be equally divided between the two provinces of the country, 150 for each province, and then there were 10 reserve seats, 5 for each reserve seats for women, 5 for each province for 10 years. Okay, and the tenure of the National Assembly was 5 years, and the members were to be directly elected by the voters, and the minimum age for a voter was 21 years, and he or she was to be registered as a voter. Whereas in order to contest elections for National Assembly, the minimum age required was 25 years, and the person was required to be a registered voter as well. So National Assembly was to have its two sessions at least in a year, one in Karachi, another one in Dhaka, and the sessions were to be chaired by the speaker. Let me also explain that in the first or the inaugural session of the National Assembly, the members were to elect the speaker and the deputy speaker immediately after taking oath. And National Assembly was given the power to make its own rules and regulations and rules of procedures as well. The members of the National Assembly, they enjoyed certain privileges as well, like they could not be questioned in any court of law on the basis of whatever they said in the session of the National Assembly. Okay, National Assembly was given the legislative powers as well. It was also the maker and the breaker of the government as well, that the Prime Minister nominated by the President was to take a vote of confidence from the National Assembly within 2 months of his or her nomination. Okay, and then the National Assembly had the power to make laws for the country. National Assembly also had financial powers. No new tax could be levied by the government without the approval of the National Assembly, and budget, which was the biggest financial bill, was also to be approved by the National Assembly. Okay, National Assembly also had the power to elect and remove the president. The president could be removed through impeachment by the 2/3 majority of the National Assembly. So let me also explain that all the decisions in the National Assembly were to be made on the basis of the simple majority of the members present and voting, but only for the impeachment 2/3 majority was required, and also for the amendment of the Constitution, the same majority of the members of National Assembly was required. Okay, the Speaker of the National Assembly held a very important position. He was not only responsible to conduct the business of the parliament, but also to maintain discipline there. He could have decided on who and when and how long to speak on certain matters, but one of the most important role that the speaker was supposed to play was that he was to act as a president of the country in the absence of the actual president. So, National Assembly was elected for 5 years, but it could have sooner been dissolved by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister could have tendered his the advice to the President for the dissolution of National Assembly, and if the President had not acted upon that particular advice, the National Assembly would automatically be dissolved after 48 hours. Okay. Another feature of the 1956 Constitution was that it contained some important Islamic provisions, such as the name of the country was Islamic Republic of Pakistan. The president was required to be Muslim, and then there were also some other provisions related to Islam, like the government was to make arrangements for the Muslims so that they could live their lives according to the teachings of Quran and also according to Sunnah. But many of these provisions were the part of the objective principle of state policy. It means they could not be enforced by law, rather they were there as a guideline for the government to make policies. But one of the important provisions related to Islam was that no law repugnant to Islam could be enacted in Pakistan, and there were also provisions for making the existing laws in accordance with the Islamic principles. There was also a provision for the establishment of an Islamic Commission, and that Islamic Commission would present its recommendations for making the existing laws in accordance with Islam. And then this commission was to present its reports every 5 years to the parliament, and then parliament would make laws according to that report within 6 months. Let me also explain that though the president was required to be a Muslim, but there was also a provision for a Speaker of the National Assembly to act as the president in the absence of the actual president. A speaker could have been non-Muslim, so an occasion might arise where a non-Muslim could become the president of Pakistan, but for a short period of time.